Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because that passion and desire in us is so strong, right? When we feel
Yeah.
called to want to create a business, to be in service, whether it's in our own
Mm,
career or whatever it is,
mm,
that's a,
mm,
it's an inner drive that is desperate
mm,
to
mm,
be
mm,
acknowledged and seen. And life can be so, it can be so difficult for us if we're not really honoring that and walking in
mm.
those steps. And if we've got
Yeah.
all of this distraction around us in our life that's kind of distracting us from that, or we're not prioritizing perhaps what needs to be prioritized in order for us to move forwards, then things can get
Mm,
really chaotic
yeah.
unnecessarily, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I see it on daily basis with my clients, but also um, yeah, friends and whatever. But I see this fear that are controlling us and that is holding us back. We I help high sensory intelligent people, but also I just help people. That is my passion. Help people stepping into the light and really getting out there with their message in their own business and creating an online business where they deliver their knowledge to the world. And in that process, I see um, so many places in the process, or so many steps in the process where the fear takes over and where we are allowing the fear to stop us. And that is also why I'm so happy to talk about this today, because it's such an important topic, fear, because fear is between what we desire and where we are actually.
Ah, okay, yes.
Mm.
What we desire and where we are. Yeah, very good,
Mm.
very good. And what have you noticed over the years of working with people, that ways in which we can overcome that, or how we can start to manage that experience, because it can
Mm.
get so overwhelming for us.
Yeah. First of all, what I see is that we just have to start. We have to start, and we have to take one step at the time, because courage is not something that we have or have not. It's something that we build along the way by taking a step at the time. So we can't wait for the courage to come and the fear to go away. We have to just start and just take one step at a time. And especially surrounding us with people that are helping us stepping into the light, or is cheering at us stepping into the light and not holding us back. I think that is so important in the process.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that really makes
Mm.
sense. Yes. So, so again, by kind of simplifying things down to a first initial step
Mm.
that that is not too overwhelming, where we can just start to experience ourselves in action, even if it's in a very small way. So we're
Yeah,
kind of countering those beliefs or programs or whatever it is that
exactly.
that we're not going to be safe if we do this, or this went wrong before when I did this.
Mm.
So it's that initial step of action that then begins to
Mm.
really counter those fears initially, and then,
Yes.
as you say, making sure we've got the right people around us that are saying, yes, you're doing really well. It doesn't matter if that goes wrong. It's better that you're
Mm.
just out there doing it. So you're
Mm.
taking those first few steps.
Yeah, because if we look at it, do we actually do something wrong? And do we actually make mistakes? Or is it just learning points?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that is. that is also, but the fear will always tell us that we make mistakes or we are not good enough, or haha, now you see, now people can point fingers at you, you couldn't do it, I'm not good enough, and all that. But is it really that? Or what if we start thinking about the steps, no matter how it ends up, as learning points, instead of if it's a success or a failure?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yes, that makes very good sense too. Yes, and if I think about my own experience through business, it's actually really interesting when you look back and think, how did I get from where I was to where I am now? And it is that it is a series of inspirations where I think, oh, I'd really like to try this, and I'm going to see how that lands, and sometimes things go well, and sometimes things don't go well, but it's a continuous learning and reflection for ourselves. Is okay. I felt really comfortable doing that. That didn't feel good at all. This worked. That didn't work. But I think until we're kind of in that arena of practice, we only remain stuck in the imagination of our fear.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? So rather than staying in that kind of fear realm, we just have to get into the practice. And it's okay to make
Yes.
mistakes. It's okay to see how things go, but there's got to be action.
And on the way in that process going forward, we will build more and more courage. We will build more and more trust. We will build more and more self-worth. But if we don't start, we will just let the fear define us.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point, because one of the key things that I've found has been such a revelation for me over the years is that until I'm actually creating the circumstances to witness myself in action, I can't meet the part of myself that actually knows what it's doing.
No,
You know what I mean? So it's
exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
so it's like, when I first began, I kind of had all of these bits of paper on the wall of my strategy and my steps of what my programs were going to be initially, and everything that I was going to be doing, and in that kind of planning stage, I'm only really calling upon my intellect and the bits that I've learned and what I'm thinking. But it's only when I actually start to get in front of my ideal clients and I start to kind of implement my own methodology, it's like, wow, there's a part of me that actually really knows what it's doing. There's an intuitive response in me that knows how to facilitate people. In my case,
Yeah.
of course, I'm a facilitator. There's this higher ability that's linked with our purpose and our cause that just starts to take over. And I think there's no way that we can really meet that part of ourselves until we're in action.
No, exactly. And that is the how can you say, that is not the funny part, but more the confusing part. Actually, it's we can stand on our feet and be ready, and then we can take the first step into the business, or into showing the world our purpose, or what we are here to do. And once we take the first step, some new things come up, a new fear, a new paradigm, a new yeah, something that we have to work on to take the next step. So we can't meet ourselves by just standing still and waiting. We have to take the steps forward. Like you say, we have to meet ourselves in the connection with the people we help.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. Yes, and I love how you said that because you're right. It's once we do move into the next, experience of the business or the next stage of kind of experiencing ourselves, that there's going to be new challenges that appear. We're going to learn new things about ourselves, and I think in some ways it's helpful to know that we're always going to be in evolution. That we're always going to be learning. We're always going to be making mistakes. We're always going to be growing. But actually, the fear of those stages is much. It feels much worse than it actually usually is. It's a bit like that
Exactly.
quote from Mark Twain that said, "Some of the worst things in my life never actually happened to me." Um,
Exactly.
so I think we're so nervous of like, oh my God, if I actually step onto the pitch of the playing field and I start to do that,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? But we find that we do know what we're doing. But then, as you say, there's then the next level of development that's going to take us into the next stage, and we're always going to be moving forward. So I think, in a sense, there is this trust in ourselves that we were talking about just before we hit record today, in that there is a part of us that is strong, that is powerful, that is knowing, and really we have to get into alignment with that, with that part of ourselves that just will carry us through the process of life. I think through the process of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also thinking about there's a funny thing because we do things in life that other people will look at us and say, "Oh, you have so much courage," or "How did you dare to do that?" or "How did you trust yourself in that situation?" And that can be some are frightened of heights, and some are frightened of stepping into the light, and some are frightened of something else. But the funny thing is that we fear is only what we how can I say it's what we, of course it's what we think will happen. It's something we are afraid of. It's an outcome we are afraid of is is uh, is coming out of a situation, and an outcome that we don't like. But if we sometimes look at our life and look at situations where other people are frightened and experience the fear of not stepping into whatever they are about to step into, but we are like, oh, but I just do it. And then looking at that, what is it that makes you just do that? But what is it that holds you back in another situation? For example, I what we see a lot, both of us, when we work with people that wants to get their purpose out in the world and all that. So what does the fear actually look like here? And why is it why do we have the fear? Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So do you mean that there's kind of there's an underlying piece, maybe a belief or a program that's running that
Exactly. Yeah.
needs to come to the forefront
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
for
because there are there are other situations where we are not frightened. And there's also situations where we just do what we have to do without even thinking. And then there are situations where we stop ourselves and can't even move forward or backwards. We're totally stuck. And why is that? So starting to get to know your fear. What is it you're afraid of actually? Because when we build online businesses, we are normally in our own house, sitting behind the computer. We are, working on things. So what is it we actually afraid of? What can happen?
That's really interesting. I love
It
that.
is.
Yeah, that's really made me think about that. That's actually, I've never really thought about that before. Because if, like, for instance, there's certain scenarios that I get myself into where I just know I'm going to be okay. Like, for instance, if I'm, because I've been windsurfing for many years, and sometimes, like, recently the other day, and I'm not recommending anybody does this. It's dangerous to do this, um, but I have a lot of experience. And the other afternoon, I went out on the water, and it was perfect windy conditions, but the sun was kind of starting to go down, and you shouldn't really go out then because obviously you can't see. But I just know, because I've tracked the weather, and I know the wind's going to be okay, and I know the area of where I am, and I'm only going to go out for like 20 minutes, just a 20-minute blast. And the other night I actually stayed out a little bit longer, and it got dark around me, and I ended up drifting a little bit upwind. I actually managed to get further upwind than I thought I was going to do, and I was having such an exhilarating moment. And when I turned round, I couldn't see where I needed to land again on the beach. So there's a harbour there, and there's beach there. I need to land there because that's sand and this is rocks here. So now I'm in kind of a bit of a tricky situation, because if I don't get that right, I could end up on the rocks, which is not the end of the world. I can just swim away from the equipment, but my board and my sail will be broken up on the rocks, which is not ideal. So it's interesting how I handle that situation, because there's just a knowing in me that I'm just going to handle this. There's a kind of a playfulness, there's a joy. It's like, okay, things could go bad, but at the end of the day, I can just swim away and I can get back to the shore. Well, for other people, if from someone else's perspective, in that situation, that could be terrifying. But it's like, I'm out in the sea now. The wind is really strong. The sea is rough. Can I get back to safety again? Versus if I put myself into some experiences in business where I think, oh my gosh, okay, now I've got to make these decisions, I've got to do that. This could go wrong, that could go wrong. And then my whole environment of that experience is much more scary.
Yeah.
Because there's something underneath that's from previous trauma, or something that has been very scary for me. So then I think, I think it's very interesting to look at these two pieces of how in some circumstances we can just feel we trust ourselves deeply, like in that windsurfing moment. I trust myself, I'm going to figure it out, like whatever happens I'm going to know. But sometimes in business situations I'm not as sure, and I think, oh God, what's going to happen, am I going to be okay? So I think if I understand correctly, what you're bringing here is that we need to look at what the underlying fears are, or if there's some kind of trauma that's related to the experience that will help us to move forwards.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I would like to say, and also, what if you moved forward in trust instead of the fear? What if you instead of being in the fear was stepping into the trust, and just for a second was just believing in that everything, I trust that the universe will help you, that everything you need comes to you, and just feel the energy shift in that. Because what I think that when we experience the fear, and when we are stuck in a situation, because we can't move forward and all that, it's because we don't believe in ourselves. It's because we don't believe that something better will come along, that we will succeed. And what if we are stepping into that belief? What if we are stepping into trusting the process just for a second, and just feel what that feels like,
Yeah.
because then you wouldn't stop, then you would move forward.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that is actually that's probably the most important mindset to take into these new steps, because you're absolutely right. Like, again, when I look back over my experience or people that I've worked with, is it's life does hold us, especially when it's aligned, especially when we're moving into something that is in alignment with our purpose, or something that is genuinely real for us in business. There is that horrible experience of oh my god, if I start to do this, if I start to put that product out there, if I start to speak to these people that I really want to speak to, it is amazing how we are held and supported in that new step. In other words, that trust in life that it's going to hold us, it's going to support us, it's going to show us the next steps. We're going to intuitively perform in that new arena, and we're just going to know
Yeah.
what we're doing. So it's it's like that expression, leap and the net will appear.
Yeah.
It's just going to be there for us, but we just got to let go of the rope and jump
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also a very important thing in following the dream of building, for example, an online business, that what we are doing, and helping people building an online business, is I said it a little bit before also, but it is to surround you with people that support you and that are supporting you in the dream, because it can be terrible, heavy to hold your own belief, but also to deal with other people's fear, the people that are around you, that dealing with their fear as well. And because then you have to really step into the trust and the believing, just to make them safe and believing in you. So instead of using your energy on that, a really good thing, and what I see is when people are maybe having accountability partners, or stepping into a masterclass or whatever, something, mastermind group or whatever, where they are surrounded with people that would like to, or work on the same purpose, or at least uh, working on also going out there and live their dream and all that, then you can then you can get the energy and the support from them, and you can actually tap into their trust, and you can tap into their beliefs, and you can tap into their power, and you're not holding your own trust, your own belief all by yourself, and
Right.
also trying to hold the people around you, their fear. I hope it makes sense, but yeah, I think that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of the most important things that I see.
Yeah, I think that is really important, and it's also interesting to consider how when we want to bring forward what's most important to us, which is our purpose. It is the service that we want to bring into the world. There can often be trauma around that, especially for us as HSPs, because when we were younger, when we were showing our truth and we were showing what really mattered to us, what typically happened is people would say, well, you can't really be like that if you want to be successful in society, and it wasn't told to us like that. We were just often shamed or rejected in when we were bringing our truth forward. We're told that we were too sensitive, told that we're thinking too much, told that we need to fit in more. And often what can happen is, as we come into our adult life, we're then in this belief system that the truth of who we are is not valuable in some way, or it's not going to be accepted, or for us to be successful in business and in life, we need to try to be someone else. And then I think what can happen is when the time comes where we realize, actually, I've had enough of all of that. Now I want to be me, and I want to be in business. I want to do what I'm born to do. Then suddenly all of these old traumas come up where, if I actually step forward and be who I really am, and I say what I really want to say, there's that fear of being seen in that way. And then, as you say, with all the people that are around us, perhaps our family or people that, that they have our best interests at heart to an extent, but they also kind of want us to fit in, and they're a bit scared of us going off on our own journey to build our own business, and they're thinking, well, that's it's going to be expensive. There's a lot of risk in doing that. Should you really do that? And again, those traumas come up for us, and we think, oh gosh, should I really be doing that? Last time I was myself, it was kind of rejected, or it wasn't accepted. So I think, again, we have to, as you say, we have to be around the people around us that can say, it is time now for you to step into your truth. It is time now for you to be seen for who you really are, because the pain of not doing that is now too great. It hurts too much to be in the wrong career, to try to build the wrong business. It's got to be aligned. So by having that kind of container of safety around us to say, we've got you, just go for it, just take that little step. And I think we have to experience for ourselves that the fear of that trauma of when we were a child is now not the same as it is for an adult. We might feel the same feelings, but now we can actually stand in our power, we can stand in our truth, and we can see for ourselves, it's like, okay, I actually have real value in the world. My message is hugely important for people, and it's time for me to speak up and do what I'm going to do. And that starts to really break through that deep fear of being seen in our truth, I think.
Yeah. And what I would like to say is also, I'm not saying that we shouldn't look into the traumas that we have with us, because we certainly shall. We have to look into the traumas that we have with us, because they are as real today as they were 30 years ago. So when we experience the traumas we have with us today, when we are building a business, want to step into the light, being afraid of what other people think or will say, or do they like me, or do I say something wrong, or do I not fit in if I do this? And the feeling, as you also said, the feelings and the experience is as real as it was 30 years ago. So we definitely have to look into them. But what I believe and what I see is, and what I have experienced myself, is that we have to, I don't believe that we really have to deal with all of them. There are some traumas that are so deep that we have to deal with them. We have to go in and see what is the, I call it the energetic metaphor that lies underneath it all. So we have to look into that. But what we also have to do is start seeing ourselves in the goal we have, in where we want to go, and start building our new self-image instead of being stuck in an old paradigm, an old self-image that are not serving us anymore. And of course, we have to look into some of the traumas that are really deep and really holding us back and all that. But I also believe that some we can actually get over quite fast by starting to define ourselves, our new self-image, in how we want to, or who we want to be in the business, and as the successful solo entrepreneur that we want to be, stepping into our light, and live that self-image.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So it's almost like kind of stepping into the truth of our identity.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, if there's some kind of confusion around that, and I like how you said that, you know, yes, if there's trauma, it doesn't mean to say that we have to take on the whole trauma again, or we don't have to kind of try to get to the root of everything. And that has definitely been my experience too. There have been some stages in my life where I've gone right into the trauma of everything and kind of recreated everything, and, you know, tried to resolve things in that way. And sometimes that's appropriate in some cases, but I think in business, when we're moving forwards, we just have to take it step by step and just address whatever's there in front of us, little bit by little bit, rather than taking on the whole thing, thinking, you know, this happened when I was younger, oh my God, I'm doomed, I'm never going to be successful. It's actually, well, hang on a minute, you know, what is the truth of your capacity, your ability, your courage? Let's test that and see actually what you're capable of. And through these little practice steps, we then allow ourselves to shift into that new identity, to find that there is an old part of ourselves that isn't serving us. The story of that isn't serving us. And there's actually a truth of our identity that's much stronger than all of those imaginings.
Exactly. Yeah. And starting to define who we want to be and what we want to think and what we want to say to ourselves, instead of what we are saying and what we are believing today, is important to really step into the light that we want to step into, so that we can live our authentic life, so that we can be who we are, with the abilities we have, with the gifts we have as high sensory intelligent people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think you know, it at the end of the day, it really is about revealing these parts of ourselves, revealing these abilities, revealing these gifts, and it is about trusting that we will be held, and we will find our way in the natural arena that we're born to be in. You know, we're supposed to be in that place. It's not like, you know, we're trying to become a rocket scientist and we have to learn all of that arena, and none of that really makes sense to us. What we're actually doing is we're stepping into a part of life that we're actually designed to be in. And once we begin to experience how our gifts work and how our intuition works, and, you know, we start to get feedback from the people that we're in front of, then we really start to understand our value. And I think this is key. This value piece is when we're in this realm of imagination and we're in a place of fear and we're not sure, you know, should I do this? Should I do that? You know, is it going to work for me? I think a lot of the time what's happening in that experience is we're just not aware yet of how our gifts work and just how valuable they are for the people that really need us. And once we start to get feedback and we think, wow, that session really worked, and we start to get testimonials from people that say, that was really helpful for me, I'm now able to see this is making much more sense to me. Gradually what's happening is we're starting to recognize that truth of our identity, of who we really are, has enormous value, and it's actually here to change people's lives, and it's here to help them in whatever context that may be. And we're building that new sense of self. We're starting to recognize the importance of who we are and recognize the importance of taking risks and moving forwards. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about the people that we're here to serve. It's about the change that we can bring into the world. And I think when we shift focus from ourselves and, well, it's all about me and am I going to be safe, am I going to be okay, to that, to that awareness of the importance of the work that we're here to do, then suddenly we're accessing a greater alignment of identity, or a more empowered identity that actually knows what it's doing, and we can trust that, and we can trust that the world will hold us as we move into that.
Absolutely. And what I would like to say here is also that to get to know ourselves, to get to really know the purpose, and also to really know deep inside who we are here to serve, we sometimes just have to start. Because what I see with a lot of my clients is that they think that they have to know it all before starting. So they are actually looking for and searching for an answer inside themselves to, who am I here to serve? What is it that I want to help them? What problems do I want them to help them solving? What is it that they are able of doing after I help them? And what are their situation now? And all the questions that we work around when we start nailing down our niche. They think they have to have all the answers to begin with, but sometimes it's all about choosing and not being afraid of making mistakes, because it's not mistakes. Again, it's a learning process. So everything, if you start building your business and after a couple of months you see, oh, this was not I'm not attracting the clients that I actually want to help or that I can help, or my gifts is not coming in full when I help these people. I actually want to help these people. Then just stop for a minute and start over again, and with a new target group and a new problem to solve. Because the first piece you were doing was only learning. So it's always better to do something than to be stuck. Because once you, and you have said it so perfectly, but once you get out there, it's where you start knowing yourself. It's where you start knowing your gift, and getting more aware of your gift and who you want to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really key piece, 100%, because it is that analysis paralysis that we experience when we're trying to plan everything and get everything perfect, and we're not going to take any action until we think everything is as perfect as it can be. But the irony there is that we can never know how things need to be until they're actually being applied in the real world.
Exactly.
We live in a doing universe. We live in a universe that is all about action, and when we're just in our thinking, we just can't foresee what's needed, or how things are actually going to unfold until we're in that process of doing. And I think, as you say, we need to just get something out there to see how we respond, how the market responds, and then we adjust again, we only get the information that we need once it's actually live. There's only so much that we can do in the practice and preparation.
Yeah,
Go
exactly. No, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. It's and the funny thing is that it's the paradigm here, because we are afraid of doing something wrong, but what we have to do is actually go out there and make mistakes
on. Right.
uh, to get some feedback. and to get to know ourselves, to get to know our clients and all that. So it's so funny because it's what's holding us back that we actually need to go out there doing, and also because we we can't be sure that the level of consciousness that our clients have, that it's aligned with what we are sending out. So let me say that again. We are trying to attract clients on a certain level of awareness. But what if they are actually not on that level of awareness? We won't attract them, or we will attract the wrong people. I can give an example. If you want to work with people that that have a burnout, for example, or something, but if you use the word stress, but they have a belief that no, I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed. Other people are stressed. I'm not stressed. But they are actually totally stressed, burned out, everything. But they haven't acknowledged it. Their level of awareness is not aligned with the word stress. You can't use it. But you don't know that until you have tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense.
And that's such a good example of why it's so important to get out there and just try it.
Yeah.
You know, because you're absolutely right. And I think what's amazing about, you know, the business we're bringing forward, the purpose that we're bringing forward is that we already have a lifetimes of experience in our area of expertise. You know, nature's been training us and challenging us already in the area of life that really matters most to us. And when we bring that forwards into the market, you're absolutely right. Sometimes we can get that wrong. Sometimes we're too far ahead in the awareness because we're used to being in that world, that we're saying things in a way that doesn't quite match where people are. And then we think, oh, I've got that wrong. Nobody wants me. Like, my product doesn't work. But actually, it's just down to the way it's been presented or the language that we've been using. Or as you say, you know, are we meeting someone where they're at in burnout so they can understand, oh, okay, I'm in burnout. This person actually knows about that. And we're talking to them where they need to be met at that level for us to be able to reassure them that we know what we're doing and we actually have the solution for them. But none of that can be figured out until we get out there and try it.
No, exactly.
You know, you could spend 5 years figuring out, oh yes, they're in burnout. They need this, they need this, they need that. But until we actually try that, we could be wrong for 5 years in our own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the whole what is stopping so many people from moving forward is that we think we should have all the right answers to begin with, and being in the fear of, what if I'm wrong? What if I don't succeed? What if I don't attract clients? What if I? But one thing is sure, if you don't take the first steps, nothing will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, I really hope for everyone listening right now, wherever you're at in your career, in your business, this is an invitation to just take that initial step, to trust that you will know what you're doing in your own arena. And you need the feedback from life to tell you how things need to be in order to move forward. You need that. We need to take little steps that are going to, you know, sometimes are going to go wrong, but we can't make informed decisions until we have real life feedback. And that is about taking steps. It is about having the right people around us. It is trusting that it is going to get scary sometimes, but there's nothing more scary and more disappointing than staying stuck through not taking action, than getting things wrong along the way, and also that there's fun in that, there's play in that, to enjoy that process of taking those steps in our lives in alignment with what we really want to do. And I think shifting our mindset a little bit into the joy and the pleasure of that, the vulnerability of just trying something, trying it out, looking for data, and then reassessing again, doing things differently if we need to. But the doing is much better than just the thinking.
But also ask yourself, what if you moved forward in trust? What would you do if you move forward in trust and believing in the process instead of fear? Try and ask yourself that. What would you do if you could take out the fear and just go with the trust? What would you do?
And what would that look like?
And what would that look like? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. What a wonderful piece to consider as we bring this session today to a close. Is how about if we take that step in trust, and how might that feel? What might that look like? And does it need to be full of fear, or can it be in a playful state of trust and knowing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Are there any
So
final
great to
pieces?
be here.
Yeah, really good. I loved how this conversation unfolded. It's so wonderful to be in the space of just allowing these pieces to come through. And I hope, for everyone listening, that this has been valuable. And we want to hear from you. Tell us how this has been for you, this conversation. What kind of things are coming up for you? Are there any other areas that you would like us to talk about and cover for you? You can send us a comment. You can leave us a review on the podcast. We're so committed to helping you to be in your truth, to be successful as a high sensory business owner. And it's all about trusting the value of who you are and the joy of who you are, and that it's all possible for you. Yeah.
It is indeed.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So there we are. Anything else you wanted to add, Tina? Do you think we've covered it all?
No, I think we covered it all. Yeah, I think so. I really can't say it enough. Go out there. You have such a beautiful light. Go out and shine the light, and don't let fear stop you. Please don't let the fear stop you. Yeah, we're here for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely. I completely agree. We are here for you, and it's possible what you're looking for. It is the initial steps, and it's amazing what happens when we start to take those actions.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Thank you, Tina, for being here. It's been such a wonderful conversation. I look forward to the next time, and we shall see you again soon.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.